At United Nations headquarters, the Security Council places on its agenda a discussion of South Africa's apartheid crisis. Ambassador Lodge repeats the United States position, regretting the tragic loss of life in recent incidents, and votes to hear the charge raised by 29 member nations that the crisis has grave potentialities for international friction.
Not that I love thy children, whose dull eyes see nothing save their own unlovely woe, whose minds know nothing, nothing care to know, but that the roar of thy democracies, thy reign of terror, thy great anarchies, mirror my wildest passions like the sea, and give my rage a brother, liberty.
And what's your message to everybody who's choosing not to vote today?
Shame on you.
But hey, to everyone that's voting, it's a good thing.
People have to vote because those who are voting for their future.
Because voting is our rights.
It's a must. People have died for this country. It will be like deceiving the people that have died for this freedom.
Because together we can make it.
Employment, for me, that's number one.
What are you wearing?
With the words of Oscar Wilde ringing in their ears, millions of South Africans again went to the polls on May the 7th, but this time it was a banner year, 2014, 20 years after the first democratic election in 1994. This is A Tale of Two Votes.
You can't change South Africa in one day. Nothing will change. I don't have any hope.
They promise us empty things. They got empty promises.
Before I used to vote for ANC for the sake of Mandela. Okay, so now I'm changed. I don't want to vote for ANC anymore. So what I need is I need to see the changes in South Africa.
For the first time in the country's history, there are a group of youngsters known as the Born Frees, who were born in 1994 or later, who now have the opportunity to determine the future of this country without the shackles or prejudice of the past. Many younger, disenfranchised people decided to abstain, but there were still those who took to the queues to stand up for what they believed in. Karabo, a resident of Alexandra Township in Sandton, is one such individual.
There is no other way. There is no other way. You know your circus tent is falling in on itself. On itself. You took the money and a net of safety for yourself. For yourself.
So Karabo, a lot of people your age aren't voting today. You've made the decision to vote. Why is that?
You know, I made the decision to vote, reason being one.
Yeah.
For the first time ever,
Yeah.
I actually get a chance to voice out my opinion.
But why do you think so many people your age aren't voting?
They don't take that personal responsibility
Yeah.
and they don't utilize that democratic right of voting. That is
Yeah.
the main reason why a lot of young people aren't voting today. I mean, if you don't know why you're voting, obviously you're not going to vote. So
You won't take it seriously, yeah.
it has to come from within.
You are active in politics. You actually go around and you campaign for the party that you're voting for today, that being the ANC.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about why you do that.
Okay, the reason why I'm voting, I'm campaigning for the ANC, is that I have realized that most of youth, especially in my township,
Yeah.
don't take voting very serious.
Okay. Well, why do you love the ANC so much?
It has made tremendous changes in terms of bringing about development. Development is defined as a state of changing or refining something. What people don't understand is that development has drivers, and by drivers we are saying that people who necessarily stress on this term of development, people who are bringing that development, and those drivers are not only the government.
Yeah.
You know, individuals from any society can drive development. NGOs can drive development. Multilateral organizations can drive development.
Yeah.
But then we turn a blind eye on that, and we tend to focus more on the wrong things that the government is doing rather than focusing on the positive things that the government is doing.
The leader of the ANC is also under a lot of scrutiny. President Jacob Zuma has been criticized for corruption, amongst other things, most recently Nkandla. Do you support, or what are your views on the president?
People have to realize that Jacob Zuma is not ANC.
Okay.
ANC has formed Jacob Zuma.
Yeah.
And Jacob Zuma did not form ANC.
Okay.
So the problem is not with the organization. The problem is with the leadership of ANC.
Okay. Is it one of the things that you would like for the parties to do, to remove President Jacob Zuma as the president?
I personally would like that to happen.
Do you think you'll get out of Alex one day?
Definitely I will. I will get out of Alex because I'm an academic scholar. Take my studies serious, I'll study. And not only will I help myself with the studies that I get from university to take myself out of Alex, but then in the process I will also liberate other young leaders to actually go to school and get out of this place.
In this particular community, do you feel government has delivered enough? Do we have enough households with running water and electricity in Alexandra?
You can't give a person a globe and claim that you gave them electricity. You can't give a person a tap and claim that you gave them water. You know, water is a fundamental right for each and every living organism.
The Constitution says, yeah?
Yeah.
You're still studying, so this probably doesn't matter to you just yet. But one day you're going to finish the course that you're studying and you're going to need a job. Are you optimistic on that front?
A lot of people tend to look more on the government to create jobs for them. I think we also have to stress on the issue of entrepreneurship. We have to motivate young people to go out there. We have organizations in place like your National Youth Development Agencies that can actually help you with your small SMEs. So we have to stress this issue of entrepreneurship.
It's widely expected that the ANC is going to win this election. What is if we assume that that is how it's going to turn out, what would be the message to the leaders, to the new administration?
Let's actually come together, let's reunite, and let's take South Africa forward as a collective, because South Africa is not a country for individuals. South Africa is the country for the people, by the people.
Why do we go through so much pain? I got a feeling that my vote will make a change.
I was voting
Go
for
and
me.
vote. Let's go.
Yo. Go and make a difference.
However, as with every story, there are two sides. With all the scandals surrounding the leader of the ANC, President Jacob Zuma, there were some older ANC stalwarts who just couldn't bring it upon themselves to cast their vote for a party they no longer felt represented their interests.
94, I was 21. Okay. Yes. And I was doing my second year at university. I was in Durban. So the night before, we celebrated like never before. The queues were the one thing that came into my mind. They were so long. I made part of history. You know, we changed the course of South Africa. We changed the course of Africa as a continent. It will be the first time that I'm voting for another party, and anxious again because I think as a country we are not yet at that stage where we have that political tolerance. You know, as EFF members, we have had a very hard time campaigning for this day. politics, their dynamics, you know. At one stage, the ANC was home to everybody. But then gradually it started alienating people who were now questioning some of the decisions that were being made, some of the policies that were adopted. And as a person, individually, I felt that the ANC was no longer doing what we have known it to be. You know, looking back at the time wasted, the 20 years, you know, the 20 years that the ANC has been in power, you know, it could have done so many other things. Economically, as South Africans, you know, we are still not there because at my age, you know, I shouldn't be living with my parents, you know, and I should at least have maybe found myself a place to live. A whole lot of us have not yet benefited, you know. So that's the sad part about the past 20 years. My vote today will put my kid and others in a position where economically they stand to benefit, because as EFF we intend to change a whole lot of policies regarding our economy. Economically, it means you are only able to do as much as you can, meaning that you work, you are employed, you work, but then you cannot do things that you wish to do, because the kind of pay that we get as the working class does not allow us to, you know, to be economically independent. One thing, I see a lot of fighters in the queue here.
Oh, do you really?
I see a lot of fighters. Fighter, mark my words, there's a big shock coming in.
Do you think so?
There's a very big shock coming in.
Not as long as the queue seen in 1994, but St. Peter Claver Primary School in Pimville, Zone 5, Soweto, is where many have come to cast their vote this morning. And for fighter Tsepo, this vote is the beginning of a new movement.
Fighter, how are you? I'll be making history one more time, and I think now South Africans will really look back to this day and remember it as a very historic day.
A lot has changed in South Africa in the last 20 years of democracy, and one of those things is the people's choice.